Prague in the 1800s was one of the most extraordinary cities in all of Europe. It sat at the very heart of the Habsburg Empire, a city of stone towers and winding medieval lanes, of Gothic spires and Baroque palaces, of river mist and church bells. By the early 19th century, its population had grown to roughly 80,000 people, crowded into ancient districts that had changed little since the medieval age. And yet, beneath that frozen skyline, the city was trembling. New ideas, new politics, and new ambitions were about to break everything open. In this video, I use modern AI tools to bring historic paintings, engravings, and prints to life, allowing us to shift perspective, change camera angles, and move through these same streets in ways their original artists never could. What you are seeing is a reconstruction. A careful, considered attempt to walk through a city that no longer exists quite as it was. This view shows Prague Castle as it appeared from the far bank of the Vltava, a vast silhouette of rooftops, towers, and cathedral spires pressing against the grey Bohemian sky. By the early 1800s, the castle complex at Hradčany had stood on this ridge for nearly 1,000 years. It was the symbolic seat of Bohemian kingship, and under Habsburg rule, it served as the official residence of the emperor's governor. In the foreground of this scene, horses labor up the cobbled ramp toward the castle gates. Servants carry loads. Soldiers in imperial uniforms stand at attention. In the background, the unfinished towers of St. Vitus Cathedral rise above everything, a construction project that had been slowly advancing for over 4 centuries. The castle housed not only power, but ceremony. Coronation processions wound their way through these very gates. And yet for much of the 1800s, the imperial court had long since moved to Vienna. Prague Castle was prestigious, but it was also a little quieter than it once had been, a monument to a grandeur that had partly moved on. Today, Prague Castle remains the largest ancient castle complex in the world, and you can walk these same courtyards any morning of the week. This view shows Charles Bridge as it appeared around the 1840s, the only crossing over the Vltava River, and one of the most important streets in all of Bohemia. Construction had begun in 1357 under Emperor Charles IV, and for nearly 5 centuries this bridge was the single thread connecting the old town to the lesser town and the castle beyond. In the foreground, merchants push handcarts loaded with cloth and grain. Pilgrims pause to pray before the rows of stone saints that line each side of the bridge. By the 1800s, there were 30 of these Baroque statues, some bright with fresh detail, others worn almost smooth by weather and touch. Street sellers called out from beneath their coats. Beggars stretched out their hands. A river of human movement passed through here every single day. But the bridge carried something heavier than trade. In 1620, following the Battle of White Mountain, the severed heads of 27 Czech Protestant leaders had been displayed from the Old Town Bridge Tower. That memory did not fade easily. Every generation that crossed here passed through the shadow of that history. In September 1890, a catastrophic flood sent 3 arches of the bridge collapsing into the Vltava. The bridge was repaired, and it stands today exactly as it did before, a place you can still walk, still touch, still feel beneath your feet. This view shows the Old Town Square on a busy market morning in the mid-1800s. The square is wide and cobbled, ringed by Gothic and Baroque facades in shades of ochre, cream, and rust. In the center, open-air stalls sell vegetables, leather goods, and live poultry. Children run between the legs of traders. The smell of horse dung and fresh bread mixes in the cold morning air. Anchoring the western edge of this scene stands the Old Town Hall, and set into its southern wall, the astronomical clock, the horloge, built originally in 1410. By the 19th century it had been ticking for 400 years. Every hour, a small procession of carved apostles emerged from the clock face to the delight and wonder of passers-by. Citizens set their schedules by it. Travelers came specifically to see it. Dominating the eastern skyline of the square are the twin black spires of the Church of Our Lady before tin Gothic towers that have watched over this market since the 14th century. The square was the site of public executions, political announcements, coronation celebrations, and ordinary daily commerce all at once. It was the city's living room. Remarkably, this is a site you can still visit today. And standing in the square on a quiet early morning, it is not difficult at all to imagine the cobblestones exactly as they were. If there's another city, another moment, another scene you'd like me to reconstruct and explore, let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and your suggestions shape where this series goes next. Again, thank you so much.